Living our spiritual life. Part 1. The spiritual kick in the butt. What is a spiritual life? The simplest definition I know is that spirituality starts when we engage with life. That is, when we ask ourselves questions such as, why is this happening to me? I want more of this or that in my life. Who am I? What is my purpose? Then something magical happens. We get answers.
Hi, good morning. This is Luke Watley, and I had promised a three-part video, and here's the first part. So the whole series is about how do we start our spiritual life, and this part is really the starting point. And sometimes we are born in a spiritual family, like maybe there are monks in our family, or deeply religious people who really live from compassion, and we're inspired by them. But most times we need a kick in the butt. Most times there's some hardship, and it could be mild, like we keep hurting our toes on piece of furniture or something. But sometimes it's harder than that. There could be a rape in the family. There could be a child that's hit by a car or dies of a disease like leukemia. I don't need to list all of the trauma that's possible, but oftentimes we don't know how to deal with trauma just because our society is taking our power away by saying, oh, don't worry, we have a medication from that. Instead of saying, you know, that trauma might be guiding you to your spiritual path. What an idea, right? I can hear the wheels turning in some of you and saying, what trauma is bad? Not necessarily. It depends how you look at it. It depends what you learn from it. It could be the right kick in the butt in your life to start something that you didn't expect could happen. So most of the time we need something. Losing one's job, or an illness that keeps coming back, or some death in the family, of our house burning, something. It can be even worse. We can be born in a country that's always at war, or where famine is rampant. Or we can be born in a family that is poor and doesn't see any way out of poverty. And we're stuck in that worldview that we'll always be poor, or something like that. And truly, that's a worldview that's very limiting. It may be very hard, especially in our culture, to get out of poverty, for instance, or heal from cancer, uh, when the medical system is using techniques that actually deplete your human immune system, and sometimes it can help. But there are other ways that are not so promoted in our society. We have to dig deep to find truly healing methods. So, so how do we deal with trauma? How do we deal with that? Well, the first question is, if this trauma is in my life, what do I have to learn from it? And that question comes from, um, I would call it stopping fighting life. If we judge that trauma is wrong, we are judging life and our experiences. If instead we think, okay, let's accept life just the way it is, maybe it's exactly what I need to move forward, to move beyond what I know, to grow into the me that is just begging to be given a chance. I'll give you an example. When I finished my master's degree in mental health counseling, I applied to many agencies, so I could get a job and so I could be licensed in New York State. But none of these agencies, out of 50, maybe more, gave me an interview. And at first, it was like I was not paid for several months. And I started to ask myself, am I in the wrong field? Should I do something else? But then I realized that if I was not going to be a counselor, a big part of my passion for life was gone. So I needed to be a counselor. And this next question was, well, how come I'm not given a job? If life is really supporting me to be who I want to be, then there must be a reason why I'm not getting a job right now. What is that? And you see how being curious leads to answers. And I got an answer. And my answer was, well, in counseling school, you were taught to follow the medical model. You were taught to treat after you get a diagnosis. And I was not doing either one of those things. I was not diagnosing and I was not treating because I never assumed that what happens in people's lives was wrong. I always said, okay, what do we have to learn from it? I was operating from a self-discovery paradigm, from a mindfulness paradigm, as a yoga teacher. And so I realized, okay, I need to find the confidence to strike on my own, to be the counselor I really want to be. And for that, it was important that I didn't get a job. It was important that I strike on my own. And that's why it was happening that way. But at some point, I felt like I could die if I can't do this work. It brought me to a place of, not suicidal place, but a place of, I don't see any solution to this. And oftentimes when trauma strikes, when hardship strikes, we get to a place where maybe we're not truly suicidal, but we're giving up. And so we might go into alcoholism, we might go into different drugs, we might even become reckless just because life doesn't matter anymore. So that's the kick in the butt. We have to start feeling like, okay, life does matter. My life matters. What am I going to do with this? How am I going to respond? Instead of being the toy of the trauma, how am I going to respond to this trauma? How do I get back to joy? How do I get back to happiness? And a big part of that is to stop fighting life. In other words, to reconnect with life, to realize we are part of life and life is really trying to support us in a way, just because we are all one. So my next video is going to be about how to reconnect with life.
Thanks for watching part 1, The Spiritual Kick in the Butt. Watch part 2, Connecting, Engaging with Life, and part 3, Creating Balance. And you can find more information about me at my website, www.innerworth.com. Thanks.